All right, let's talk about Johnathan Abram. The former first-round pick of the Raiders is now a member of the New Orleans Saints, but has really not lived up to the hype, or even come close to living up to the hype of being a first-round player. In fact, has relatively struggled in the NFL, and as you know, at this point, is just trying to stay in the NFL. So let's talk about maybe what went wrong for him. Well, first, let's look at his Pro Football Focus grades, right? Let's just, take a glance at that. In the 4 years he's been in the NFL, he hasn't even made it through just one team in those 4 years. His fourth year, he started with the Raiders and then played for Green Bay and Seattle. Usually not a good sign when you play for three different teams in a year. And you look at the PFF grades, the last 2 years, he's looked like he belongs in the NFL, according to PFF grades, but that's pretty much the nicest thing you can say about him. He hasn't looked like a great player or even a guy who could potentially start, just looking at the grades, right, before we even get into film, which we will get into in a bit and all that stuff. So far, not too great. But let's compare that maybe with his college grades. What was he able to do there? Well, I mean, you see, it's still not overly impressive. I mean, don't get me wrong, like a 77.9 grade, that's like a good college player, but that's not a great college player. And those guys usually, don't get drafted really, or don't get drafted very high. And for a position like safety that rarely gets drafted in the first round at all, having someone who maybe didn't have the best production in college getting drafted in the first round is, inherently a red flag, especially when knowing what we know now, it's not going to work out in the NFL through 4 seasons. And obviously that was his best year. He had an actively bad college year in 300 snaps at Georgia, where he had a grade of under 50 and even a sub 70 grade in 2017. So, just looking at this alone, you could honestly come to a conclusion right away and say, this is what happened. This is why he was a mess. And like to show this play, for example, there were absolutely examples of him just getting burned badly in college. Like I'm not saying getting beat, because obviously, that's the life of a defensive back, is you get beat sometimes. But watch what happens you see where he is on the screen and watch what happens. I mean, as you see, he's just going to get really torched right here. I mean, he's nowhere close to be able to, make this play. Luckily, not the best throw from the opposing quarterback right here. Watch as that throw was way over the top. But I saw examples like this. Also, a little funny, Johnathan Abram then goes over to talk to the receiver after it, it looked like. I don't know what you'd be doing there. Maybe the receiver said something to him first or something, but I don't know. Getting burned and then having an overthrow, I guess it's third down, you're excited, but it's still kind of funny there. But, these were things that we saw from Johnathan Abram in college. It wasn't just that he, was really good in college, but then what he did that made him effective in college didn't work at the NFL level. No, there were some issues, although I do have to say, people still liked him coming out of college. I know that, yes, okay, maybe I can sort of shift the narrative and say there was actually nothing to like about Johnathan Abram, but when he was drafted, it wasn't like a crazy decision that was made. I mean, he was 41st on the consensus big board, so it was a bit of a reach getting him in round 1. It was, but it wasn't like the craziest reach we've ever seen, and there were some mock drafts that had him going in the first round. But this chart is a very interesting one. So this is on Walter Football, which is a great site to use if you want to read about prospects, and they have a pretty good catalog from years past as well. So I decided to look up his Walter Football profile from when he was drafted to see what were considered his strengths. And it's a laundry list. I mean, there's a ton of strengths right here. It's not just that he hit guys hard, although that was obviously a part of it. There were plenty of things that they liked about, Johnathan Abram. And there's plenty of things that a lot of people liked about Johnathan Abram. Again, this wasn't a crazy decision to draft him in round 1 necessarily. As for his weaknesses, there were only 3 listed on the site, which usually there's way more than 3, even for the good prospects. The weaknesses were not a natural at free safety, should not play man coverage on most slot receivers, and can bite on play actions. So that is a bit concerning, though, even though there's not a ton of weaknesses. How kind of important those weaknesses feel, the fact that you can't play man coverage on slot receivers, don't feel natural at free safety, and can bite on play action, because, okay, well, then where are you going to play? How can you cover guys if you're going to bite on play action? Well, then should you be close to the ball? Well, if you're not a natural free safety, safety, then, what do you do in this situation? What do you do with this guy? So those were concerns. And so now let's go over and let's watch a little bit more film here as, I wanted to, okay, I read up about him and then I sort of had the theory of like, okay, here's my guess. He's someone who just hit guys hard, and because he was a hard-hitting safety, that's why a team like the Raiders, who wanted some Gruden grinders, they overdrafted him. That makes sense, and that would logically follow, but I don't really think that's exactly the case. Like, something like this, for example. So it's going to be a run, to the top of the screen. You see where Abram is on the screen. But watch out when this play begins, so I'm expecting right here, okay, if he's really the guy who's going to be physical and come in and, make a play, and that's what people like about him, he's probably going to rush in and find a way to, maybe not make the tackle, but at least deliver a hit right here. But if you see, not really. He kind of plays this one smart. He gets in position to where if he had to make a tackle, he would have made a tackle. He didn't just bolt in to try to make a hit or anything like that. He did the right thing on that play, I would say. So, no, I don't really think that that's the case. I didn't see him constantly. Listen, is he someone who would make big hits, and was that considered a big part of his game, and was that why some people liked him? Absolutely. That was a part of it. But it's not like that's all he was doing out there. I want to be very clear on that. Honestly, it was more stuff like this. What you see on the screen is this is going to be it's a 3rd down and 4 situation, and the quarterback is going to flip it to the halfback who is running towards the bottom of the screen. That's the way that this play is designed to work. Well, watch how when it begins, you see that, Abram, who was the free safety on this play, he has now entered the screen, and he is trying to run over and make a play. And as it stands right now, this should be obviously a first down. I think this is just like, yes, absolutely. On 3rd down and 4, they should be able to get the first down on this play. But this is where Abram would come in and make some real magic happen. Watch him rush in, and he is going to make that tackle, and he is going to stop them, a yard short of the first down. That's an incredible play by Johnathan Abram to be able to pull something like that off. I couldn't tell exactly where it was marked because it was definitely close to the first down, but, it looked to me like he was short of the first down, and these are the kind of plays we saw from Abram, and I think that it would be the wrong lesson to learn to say, oh, you know what the issue is with Johnathan Abram and all this stuff? People just wanted a safety who could come in and play physical, and that's it. That's all he could do. I really don't think that's what exactly happened. I think it was more so he's someone who made a lot of splash plays. He was I think you see this with linebackers and safeties alike, where sometimes there's these guys who can show you these plays of greatness. They show you these flashes of greatness, and they show you they can make very good plays, and so you kind of assume that the consistency will follow. Draft the guy who has the athleticism, draft the guy who has the great playmaking ability, the guy who has the intangibles. You'll work on him being just a consistently good safety who gets in position consistently later. That's the logic, but it just doesn't always work out that way. I'm not saying it never works out that way, or you should never draft a guy like that, but in Johnathan Abram's case, it did not work out, and he was not able to develop the other stuff. He was not able to develop the consistency. At least that's my reading of it, going back and watching. But yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.